I'm Mary sauer-games, and we're here to talk to you today about our OCLC strategy and vision for about the next hour or so. I am the Vice President of Global Product Management here at OCLC, and I just have to say I'm really, really excited that all of you are here. I want to thank you for your time because I know you guys are terribly busy, have lots of things going on in your libraries and a lot of other places you could be. So again, thank you for spending time with us. When we talk about strategy at OCLC, we think a lot about our mission and our vision, which you see here. And we passionately believe that by sharing the world's collected knowledge, we together fuel learning, research, and innovation. And so as we were developing the OCLC strategy over the last year, it has been important for us to kind of think about how we help libraries create breakthroughs. How many of you guys have breakthroughs in your libraries? Oh, come on. I know you guys are doing awesome stuff out there. You have breakthroughs every day. You have your library patrons and faculty and staff who are coming in, and they're learning, they're discovering new things, and they're creating their own breakthroughs. You have breakthroughs in your communities where you're helping serving those patrons, and you're really making a real impact in the lives of individuals. And you have breakthroughs within the library community. As you try to work together and come up with new ideas and things. So now that I said that and gave you some ideas, how many of you guys have breakthroughs in your libraries every day? Every hand should be going up, right? Okay, good. So when we think about that, our strategy has to help you continue to make those breakthroughs. It's the core value of what OCLC brings to libraries. And so when we talk to libraries about values and what do they value about OCLC, a lot of times we hear about our products and services. We hear about cataloging and how it helps catalogers. You know, with all of you the last couple of days, we've been hearing about how resource sharing helps you create breakthroughs in your libraries. Finally, you know, we hear about OCLC's value coming from the visibility that we provide you through worldcat.org. It's not only helping libraries or patrons in your libraries or in your communities find information, but people all across the globe can find out what you have. And so as we have analyzed our value of the library community, we think about these products and services, but it's also come to us to be very clear that it's more than just the products and services that we offer. Where we see our value coming from really is in the library network itself. It's this network that OCLC and the library community working together for over the last 50 years have created. It's the value of the products and services. It's great that the product and service have their own value, but it's really all about this network and how the network allows you to have interactions and new collaborations in this network of over 18,000 members. So what this network allows you to do is to share data. You can share your collections. You can share your infrastructure, which helps, again, saving costs and gives you time to spend more time in the community, and it allows you to share your expertise. And through this network, libraries can mobilize the activities of other members and the collective work that OCLC has done. And you're doing all of this at scale. And if you think about it, this is really unprecedented in the library community. For example, where else can you have 9,000 cataloging institutions contributing to the collective creation of metadata, roughly 50 years of their intellectual investment, alongside with OCLC's expertise and staff, to create an unprecedented and unparalleled source of library metadata? We have 10,000 plus resource sharing institutions sharing their collections broadly with each other to meet the needs of their users. And the unique ability, because of our collective scale, we've been able to create partnerships with institutions like Google Scholar and Wikipedia and Goodreads. And they all help us make your collections that more discoverable on the open web. So when we think about our vision for the future and we think about our strategy and where we need to go, we place this concept of the network kind of central to our strategy, and then we build around it. We ask ourselves questions like, how can we make the network even stronger? How can we leverage the value in the network to create a better future for libraries? And at the highest level, here's how we kind of envision new opportunities for the future in these three areas that we're just talking about. So we're looking at many areas to include to add value, but 3 important areas of enhancement that we're working on at the moment are in the area of linked data. So we are looking at ways that we can enhance the bibliographic work that you and the library do as we explore what's possible within linked data. We're planning for the future of our OCLC metadata services right now. So we envision that in this new world of linked data, you'll be able to create richer relationships between all parts of your collection. If you think about it today, you have your catalog, which has a lot of your holdings of, your print, your e-resources, your monographs, your serials. But oftentimes, if you have an IR that's sitting somewhere else and may not be reflected in your catalog, or you may have digital collections or special collections, and they all aren't putting all together. So with linked data, we're actually envisioning a way that you can connect from your catalogs to all of these different resources and making them much more exposed to your individuals in your libraries. And we're really excited about the potential that gives. Not only does it connect these, but it also helps your users understand the context of that information. In the areas of shared print, we're providing services today that allow libraries to assess, adjust, or consolidate their collections in the context of the overall collective collection. Our current development efforts focus on allowing libraries to register their monograph and serial commitments in WorldCat so that they can be shared with the library network. And this is really important as libraries begin to think about consolidating and managing down their print collections by being able to compare their collections with everyone else in the network. Our future path is going to go beyond this, though. We are now envisioning how you can prospectively develop those collections, and we want to enable you to be able to develop those collections in partnership with other libraries within the network. And so we see this as a shared responsibility and are very excited about the direction we're heading in here. And finally, we want to talk about delivery services. And I think if you've been here a couple days, you may have heard us mention this a few times, but we are really focusing our work on end users and how they are using your services. We're focusing on the user journey from where it starts with the very beginning of discovering an item to actually when they get that item in their hands. Whether it's print, whether it's digital, whether it's licensed content, open content, we want to streamline every interaction along that journey and meet the user on their terms. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about the library on demand. We're very excited about the potential of this strategy, and I know Kathy is really excited about it, so she's going to be coming up and telling you a lot more about it in just a couple minutes. So the last thing that I want to do is share with you is about not only about the vision, but how we plan to deliver on this vision. We're going to do this through 2 lenses. The first is through having a user-centric mindset. A user-centric mindset means that you'll be thinking about solutions from the user's point of view. And we're not limiting this just to patrons. We're also thinking about the staff in your libraries. We want to understand the tasks that they're performing. We want to understand the results they want to achieve. And by doing these 2 things, we can delight them in their journey and ensure that we deliver the best outcome to meet their needs. The other lens that we want to look through is through impactful collaboration. This means that we'll be working with you closely before and during the development process to ensure that your expertise, your knowledge, and thoughts will contribute in a very meaningful way to the delivery of this strategy. We want to achieve this vision together with you as our partners, leveraging the power of this network. And so with that, I'd like to turn the podium over to my 2 colleagues. First will be Lynn Conaway. She's going to be talking about a lot of the user research that she's been doing recently. She's going to be sharing what she has learned and how this is, information is going to be added to our user-centric mindset. And then she's going to be followed by Kathy King, who will share her vision for the library on demand, as well as how she and her team will be working with you on ensuring that we achieve impactful collaborations. And so with that, Lynn.
I need these. Thanks, Mary, and thank you all for being here. As Mary said, I've been very involved in user research, and by that, I want to talk a little bit. We used to talk about non-users and users, and we decided that non-users was very negative. And so now we're calling them our potential users. And so we should really be thinking about not just those individuals who use our services, but those individuals who could be using our services. And so we have been collecting data on these users and and potential users since 2003. And so today I'll just give you some information. We can't go through everything, but we have been producing this research, sharing it with all of you, but also sharing it internally. So the state of libraries. I want to talk a little bit about that. Libraries are not always the first place where individuals go for information. I'm sorry. Get some disappointing looks. But that's true. It's always been true. But it used to be that we had sort of a monopoly. And so whenever individuals wanted certain information, they had to come to us. That's not the case today. There are many options, many ways that people get information. So one of the things that we need to think about as librarians is to examine this use of services. And by that I mean we need to look at how individuals are engaging with technology, engaging with other humans, the human resource, and also how they are getting their information, because it's not, again, not always through us. We can start to be where these users and potential users are. That's what we should be doing. And so we need to put ourselves right there in their workflows. And we've been calling this, we need to put the library in the life of the user and not try to push them into our way of thinking or into our workflows. So that's very important. The other thing that we've learned is that there's a discrepancy between what individuals expect from libraries or expect on how to get their information and what we as librarians perceive them to want or expect. And we have data on this from several studies, one of which was a discovery, or we were calling it an online catalog study, so it was a while ago. And one was looking at worldcat.org. And when we talked to librarians, they said, oh, we cannot let the users use worldcat.org without us. They need a mediator. Somebody has to be in there to explain this to them. When we talked to undergraduate, graduate students, and faculty, the faculty usually knew about worldcat.org. The undergraduate students did not. And one of the undergraduate students said to us in this focus group interview, oh my goodness, I'm angry. And I said, why are you angry? She said, I have been at this university for 3 years and nobody told me about this. I can use this on my own. I don't need someone to help me use this. I understand it. So right there I thought, we need to start asking librarians what their perceptions are and what they think individuals expect, and then to actually talk to the individuals and ask them what their expectations are. And so we have some of these discrepancies. The second thing is we have to proactively consider our community needs. And I think back to Ranganathan in 1931, and he said that you need to follow the reader from the time I would say he or she or they, walk into the library until the time he or she leaves the library. And we can do that every single day. We can walk in, we can look around, we can observe. And those are the things that we should do. But we should also be observing the world around us. When I travel, I watch people. And if you watch people eating breakfast, look around and see what's happening at these tables. And you will see families, and you will see often a man with a newspaper like this in front of his face, a paper newspaper, print. You will see children, young adults, with phones doing something. You will often see a woman sitting there with a tablet. Now, I don't know what they're doing. I suspect that maybe some of them are texting each other when they're sitting there having breakfast. I don't know that, but that may be happening. And so we need to be observing this and figure out try to understand what people were doing so that we can become a part of their lives. The other thing that we have to do is to anticipate changes and challenges in a broader context. And one of the examples I like to use is research data management. And that's a very ripe, open area for us. And without looking at this and making some leaps into this area, we could have been left behind. And we have a long history of research in this area through people at OCLC. And so we need to be thinking about this and anticipate the challenges that come up with some of these things. But this is the way that we can really become a part of our users, potential users' lives. We should also be looking at young children. We have been doing a study on how individuals determine credibility in online STEM resources. And we started with 4th graders, so about 9-year-olds, all the way up to graduate students. And we've used simulations for, on 176 individuals. And what we've learned is that most of these individuals started using the internet at age 5 or younger. So these individuals are using different apps, different services, and we should be in there now talking to them and learning so that we can anticipate what they're using and doing and not be so reactive but proactive. We've also learned that as people move along in their lives, their life stages, their educational stages, they aren't picking up every new thing that comes on the market. They're staying with what they know and what's comfortable for them. Intuitive. This is a loaded word for me. Convenience comes into mind. We used to say convenience is king. Now we're saying it's king, queen, the whole court. And what we've also learned is that, our discovery systems, our OPACs, are often difficult for individuals to use. We have a quote from a screenager, that 12 to 18-year-olds, and the young woman said, the library is good if you have several months to get the information you need. Okay, yeah, that's not good. We don't want that rap. We don't want people talking like that about our services. It needs to be effortless. What does that mean? It's going back into that in the workflows, the library and the life of the user. What we found is that individuals will satisfy. They'll weigh out the consequences of that information need. And if it's for an academic school project and it's worth maybe 5% of the grade, guess what? They'll take whatever comes up. If it's for a personal situation, and if it's about something with medical issues, if health-related issues, travel, they really will take more time to get the accurate, credible information. And so they will really strive and struggle to get the information they need in some instances. We also know that they tell us that the web is easy to use. And when we ask them, they say, well, the library, when I search at on the library website, they give us this information, but I don't know how they rank. How do they rank this information? And then, I can't answer that question. I'm asking them questions. And I say, well, what other services do you, how else do you find information? Well, they say, well, we'll go out to the web, and we'll use the Google. And I'll say, well, how does Google rank? Well, I know how Google ranks. Well, tell me how Google ranks. They cannot articulate it, but they know. But for some reason, they don't know how our systems rank. This is a quote. We've been doing a study on discovery and access, and this is an undergraduate student. And one of the things we've been asking is, was the experience delightful? And I got that from Microsoft. Susan Demai at Microsoft Research was telling me that that's what she's been asking. And so I also just read an article on the plane that the Netflix user research group is asking that question as well. And so this individual said, but the ease of using it, the discovery system, was great. I didn't have to work too hard to find what I wanted. I just had to think about it and make sure I was using the right word. It was really simple. I think that's the most important. So in that way, yes, it was very delightful to be able to not have to go through a lot of hoops to get what I was looking for, because figuring out the topic is complicated enough. And so this young woman was really happy that this experience got her to what she needed very quickly. We talk a lot about context and situation. And with that, the context is very, very important. And just think about our lives, everyday lives. We are here and we are sitting at these tables. Some of you have laptops, some of you have mobile phones, some of you have tablets, and some of you have, yes, paper and pencil. And so that's very convenient here for you. If you're walking down the street, I bet most of you aren't using your laptop. I bet you're not writing down something. You're probably looking at your mobile phone. And so things change. It's dependent upon that situation. We've also learned that individuals really like that human contact. Relationships are very important, whether in a virtual environment or in a face-to-face environment. And that's something we should always remember. Library discovery has to be able to anticipate the context. And we've been looking at discovery logs. And what we found was the individuals from research libraries use more characters in their searches. Why? Because they're looking for titles. It's for a known item. When it comes to fulfillment, the research library users are often going to print books, and then ebooks. In our interviews with faculty and graduate students, we've learned that they usually will skim an ebook, but if they want that item, if they think they're going to use it for research, they want the print. And so we're trying to find out where they go to get those print items. Is it the library? Is it Amazon? Is it a friend? Is it a local bookstore? And our systems also have to do the heavy lifting. And so by that, we mean that we should be able to identify the formats for individuals. We should be able to link using different, as Mary was saying, using different metadata so that we can link all of this information together and individuals can easily select what they want for this specific situation. This is a graduate student who we interviewed, And the graduate student said, I wasn't really just open-minded looking for all sorts of information. I was kind of hunting, so that was a different kind of experience, yeah. So the individual had a very specific thing that she wanted it to have. And she said these other extraneous things did not matter. Okay, here we are to delight the users. And as I was saying, that we picked this up from Microsoft Research, and then I've noticed that Netflix is using this as well. And when we look at these other commercial services, we are finding that they're having some of the same challenges that we are with our discovery systems. And so we are not alone. I think we're, in some ways, more advanced when it comes to controlling the metadata, having our systems in place. And so I think that this is something that we should be able to do, to delight our users. And surprise, we learned, delights. And I'll give you a quote on that. And we really need to look at a single account for our preferences. And I know we worry about privacy. However, when I worked on the ACRL Library Impact Report, we interviewed provosts. And provosts were very open about collecting data on students to make decisions. And what we learned when we talked to library administrators was they were less open about that. But if we want to delight users and we want to be at the table within our institutions, we need to contribute some of these data that we collect so that the institutions can make informed decisions. Now, this is a quote from a staff member. This is an academic staff member at a college. And the individual said, it was a male, if I was searching for something that I didn't expect them to have, the library, and then I search, and there it is at the top, that would be like oh, now I'm really delighted that I have this. So just finding one thing can delight. And so the bar has not been set that high. So we should really try to get it up there. Increase this. Okay, the universal side. As libraries, we're very good at, I think, sharing. And this is where, when Mary was talking about shared print, the collective collection, this is what it's all about. To get that, to delight, to get that one item to our users and potential users. Our partnerships really matter. And you know, we are neutral. We're not selling anything as other online services are. And so that gives us an advantage that we should really take advantage of. One thing that we hear from users and from potential users and from librarians is it would be great if, and the users say this a lot, if we could track our requests. So I request something from the library. When I order something on Amazon, I can track that. I can watch every step of that. And why can't we do that in the library world? So that's something else that comes to mind. You know, giving them more information, delight them with tracking their package, their book, their resource. This is an undergraduate student. She says, most of our books, this is in the library, the academic library, are from the 60s or 70s, and it's just not helpful. And still, I don't do the ebooks, though, which would probably be helpful. But I just don't have the ability. And by that, when I probed, the ability was that she did not have her own laptop. And so she couldn't, it wasn't convenient for her to use ebooks. I would probably request a newer book from another library so I could have the physical copy. but she did not know that she could ask for that book from another library. And so we need to make this very obvious and visible. When we conducted focus group interviews on chat reference, users and potential users did not know that ask a librarian meant that you could actually ask a librarian a reference question. And so they sat around the table and said, I think there's a librarian somewhere, but I'm not sure. Because our terminology may not be what is understandable to others. So that's something else we should think about. Our signage, our terminology. These are very important. So just for a little recap before Kathy comes up to join us, is, let's really think about convenience. And convenience changes. It's dependent upon that context and situation at that time of need. And you know what? There's that personal aspect. We also learned that when individuals asked a reference question, if they did not get the answer, but the librarian built a relationship with them and was kind to them and respectful, it was still determined a success. And so build relationships in everything we do and delight our users. In a focus group this week, and some of you are here in the audience who participated, someone said, we, resource sharing librarians, can be sexy too. And you know what? That's what we need to do. We need to be sexy too and delight our users. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Thank you, Lynn. Lynn has always been an inspiration to me. Her research has been very helpful on the end user side, and she is going to partner with us going forward on learning more about sort of that fulfillment journey. So I feel very privileged to be able to present with Lynn. If you're interested, Lynn, I'm going to plug your work. You can go to OCLC.org and download more. I actually follow her around sometimes. I'm like, please sign a copy of my work. So funny. Anyway, okay, so we have talked a lot about end users' experience. I've heard it from all of you over the sessions over the last couple of days. End users' expectations are raising, right? And those expectations are being driven by the experiences that they have outside of the library. So Lynn's research has been very helpful in informing the strategy and vision. But what I also wanted to do is I wanted to look at it like straight in the user's shoes. I wanted to talk about it from a story perspective, from a journey perspective. And I love that Peter talked about journeys yesterday. He said, think about the total journey as users use the library, as they, come to the library, like what are they doing before, what are they doing after? So we've done that, and we've done that for, not non-users, it's potential users. I'm going to remember that. Okay. So let's talk about Jill. So Jill's an undergraduate student. I could have chosen any number of journeys or types of users, but I'm going to talk about an undergraduate student today. And Jill is taking classes in English literature and marketing, and she is looking for Of Mice and Men. And that is because she's got a report that she has to do. She's got to she's got to read it first, and then she's got to write something about it. And poor Jill. Jill has waited to the last minute because, again, it's Friday and it's due Monday. Does anybody know this undergraduate student? So she's in a bit of a panic. And again, she is a potential user, a future user. So I'm going to look at her journey as she doesn't use the library, as she uses other services. So let's say she does what a lot of us might do if you want to read a new book, is she goes to Amazon. And she finds it really quickly, very easily, pulls up Of Mice and Men, and one click, and it's on her Kindle. But she has decided to turn over a new leaf. Yes, Jill, you can do it. So she has decided for her marketing research that she has coming up in a couple of weeks that she is going to plan ahead, and she's going to get a couple of references from Amazon while she's there. In fact, Amazon might even recommend those to her based on things that she's looked at in the past. So when she's on Amazon, she says, okay, well, I prefer print, So Lynn just talked to us about context. So in this case, it's something that I want in print because it's nonfiction, whereas she's fine with fiction being on her Kindle. So Amazon, we love this experience, right? It's going to be at your door in 2 days. So she goes ahead, one click, it's there. Then, because Jill has got to read all weekend, she needs some coffee. So she's also very hungry. So she goes to DoorDash or Uber Eats. Does anybody use these apps? Yeah, she does that, and then she just one click, and coffee's on its way. They deliver Starbucks now. I don't actually feel like that's a good value. It's like $7 to get Starbucks to your house. But Jill really needs it, so she does it. And so the food arrives and whatever. So I wrote this story and thought, well, that's not very imaginative, is it? Like, that's obvious. Of course that's her journey. But if you reflect upon your experiences, maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago when I was in school, it didn't really look like that, did it? So if I was Jill, which this might be based on a true story, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I would have to go down to the student union, look at the bus schedules, because the mall is like 2 hours away by bus. Look at the bus schedules, go to Borders bookstore or Barnes & Noble, hope they have Of Mice and Men, I'm sure they did. Get it, come home, and you get the point, right? Like, how long is this taking me? It's gonna take me all day. This took her 30 seconds, and she's got everything she needs. So yeah, you better believe that the expectation that they have outside of the library is being driven into their library expectations. One thing, actually I should say this, I shared this example with my team, and someone sort of raised their hand, and they said, you forgot something. And it's because I don't have kids that I forgot it. She's like, what about the step where they ask you for money? Like, oh, that's a really good step to talk about, actually. In my case, so I lived 6 hours away from home. My parents would be better off just getting in a car and bringing me money rather than trying to get me money sort of like, how could you do it that day? Send a check in the mail? I'm not sure. I'm sure they could wire me something. I don't know. But today, you can do Venmo, right, or PayPal or anything, and instantly you have money in your account from your parents. Does anybody use Venmo, by the way? Some of you do? Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So I downloaded it just to check it out, to see what it was like, and all of a sudden, side note, I'm looking at what my friends are doing on Facebook. They're like, this person's paying that person, and this person's paying that person for their birthday. It was very creepy. I got very nervous. But that's besides the point. These companies are driving this expectation that I can get anything I want, anytime I want, on demand. So we thought, why not look at the components that make up that experience? What is really driving that experience so that we can bring that into the library? So the first thing is all about intuitive discovery. Yes, Lynn, I know it's a loaded word for you. So what does intuitive discovery mean? It means a lot of things. It means convenient. It means easy to use. It's familiar. It works like other sites that I can use. It also means potentially through any channel. So in Jill's case, she probably could have said, hey, Alexa, download that book to my Kindle, and then not have ever even used a screen to order. This is sort of, this voice search thing is new, and it's becoming more and more popular. The other thing that's really interesting about these slides is I put them together, December or January, and I've been sharing it with people in the community to make sure I'm not like crazy. So, so people are engaging with me there. But interestingly enough, these Tide buttons. So has anyone seen the buttons from Amazon where you can like put them all over your house? Yeah, some of you have. You could put them all over your house, push a button, and then get Tide delivered to you. Someone on my team got me a Red Bull one. I'm like, what are you trying to say? Caffeine habit a little bit. Interestingly enough, they have been discontinued. So it's actually interesting to see some of these trends. So we have to look at, like, where is it appropriate to incorporate these trends and where is it not? So I guess probably those buttons are out. Don't be incorporating those into your library. So the next component of what makes a really great experience is smart fulfillment. And when I say this, I mean this from the user's perspective. It's sort of according to my preference. Amazon does this better than anybody. So they have this option that I love to call out. It's the Kindle plus Audible option. Anybody use it? No? Nobody? A couple? Okay, a couple people, yeah. Okay, so what this is you can be driving to work and listening to the book that you're reading, and then get home, park your car, get your Kindle out and start and pick up right where you left off. You don't have to fast forward or anything like that. That is definitely according to my context, Holland. So there's other things too, right? Like, do I want it electronically, through print? Do I want it in 2 days? That sort of thing. So smart fulfillment, according to my preference, very important for a good experience. The other thing, and Lynn talked about this too, is a single account. One place to go to see all of my stuff. And when I say my stuff, I mean my transactions. I mean potentially recommendations. I also mean the ability to track. And so here's another expectation that's being driven into your library, right? The ability to track is getting this like hyper ability to track. So you can now see the pizza man as he comes to your door, which I happen to love because I find it helps me control hunger. If I know that the pizza guy is going to be there in like 2 minutes, I can just hold on. So people, and I'm sure you're hearing this. I know I saw a presentation about someone who's trying to incorporate more notifications to their users because users want to know where their stuff is. And if you're not telling them, you know this. They're going to ask questions. So this is really important for the strategy as well. So those three components really are making up this experience of getting anything you want on demand. The other component of this is that someone else on my team said, you know, I just give my son a credit card and he puts it on Amazon. And you know why she's able to do that? Because Amazon, you can get anything you want. 20 years ago, it was just books. Now it's like literally anything you want on Amazon, almost. So that's another expectation that's being said. I can get anything I want, which libraries happen to be very good at, right? You can get users anything you want, especially with that detective work. So I'm just going to pause really quick, and I want to talk about, so that's Jill, and that's essentially the components that make up a really great experience. So I talked about this on Tuesday, so just a quick reminder if you weren't there. Over the last 6 months, I have been talking to many of you, and I really want to say thank you again for anybody who has taken the time to have a conversation with me, have me at your library, or even come travel to me, because that happened. I had a lot of people come meet me in Chicago. Thank you. And what I wanted to say is these themes these are the themes that I'm hearing, and they have helped inform our strategy going forward. So user experience, very important, seamless user experience. We want our systems to be flexible and customizable. Automation is going to be very important if you are going to sort of meet these demands. If you're going to provide this experience, you need to be able to automate what you can. Mary talked about transparency and collaboration. That is transparency from OCLC and collaboration with us. And we're very excited to be transforming our collaboration processes going forward. And there's a lot of excitement. And I saw that over the last couple of days, a lot of excitement about the future of resource sharing. So I asked you on Tuesday, like, who's excited about the future? And a couple of people are like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Who's excited? Yes, we're excited. Thank you. I'm excited. We're going to do this together. OK, so all of this has led to our vision. We want to provide library on-demand experiences and enable those experiences for you and your library. The pillars of those strategy will be the very same pillars that make up a great experience in the sort of the consumer world. So intuitive discovery, smart fulfillment, single account. So we already have a lot of these pieces and parts. I'm not talking about launching a brand new service. I'm talking about using what we have to create an amazing experience, to create the library on demand. So from an intuitive discovery perspective, Lynn talked about meeting users where they are. So where they are is sometimes at the library, but sometimes it's out on the web. And we have a great partner network. We partner with Google Books, with Wikipedia, in order to get library data out there in front of your users. And we're talking to those partners and discussing how can we make that better. We, of course, have a WorldCat Discovery app, we have a WorldCat Discovery, I don't call it website. It's responsive, mobile. You can get to it on your mobile device. No one tweet that we have a WorldCat Discovery app. My team's going to be very mad at me. OK, so smart fulfillment, we have pieces and parts of this here. So on WorldCat Discovery, we recently launched a new feature that allows a user to see for ebooks also the print availability. So if they look at the ebook and they decide they like it, they can go get it right off the shelf. And people were really excited about that. The other component that we have, if you have TPASA, so we've got a single account. So one place to go and see all of your stuff. Let's see. And you've got some tracking information, and we're thinking about how can we take this into the future? What can we add to this? Can we make the tracking even more, not quite the delivery man coming to the door, but what can we do, you know? Should we add or could we add recommendations to this? And I know there will be a lot of discussion around sort of the privacy of that, but that's sort of our vision for the future, is this great account experience, not having to log in 4 different times. I think the British Library said there are 4 different logins for their experience. We don't want that. Of course, all supported by this universal access to massive inventory. So when you think massive inventory for libraries, I think first WorldCat. Of course, you can get anything that you want from any library in the world, pretty much. You guys are really good at this, I said that. But we're also looking at what other components of the library inventory should we incorporate. Does that mean being able to find your services that you offer, connecting to your institutional repositories, thinking about open access, the whole ecosystem? What is out there for us to connect into from an inventory perspective? So, in summary, intuitive discovery, really important for our strategy going forward. We've done a lot of work on relevancy. I talked a little bit about that on Tuesday, actually, for WorldCat Discovery, worldcat.org. What's coming up next is virtual shelf browse. And I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of you are probably, maybe you have facilities where you're putting your print collections or you're thinking about offsite storage. And so it's becoming really important to have a more digital experience for browsing the shelf because the shelves aren't available to people. So we'll be launching that in WorldCat Discovery. From a smart fulfillment perspective, if you have Relay D2D, I mentioned that they're a best-in-class consortial borrowing solution, really good. They've got this requestability logic that looks to see if something's on the shelf, it's actually available and requestable before placing a request to a library. And coming up, we're looking at what other things for smart fulfillment can we implement. We're looking at open access. So TPASA right now incorporates open access links, but what more can we do? And then for D2D, we would like to enable groups to essentially group-to-group requesting. So one group wants to throw a request over to another group because maybe they couldn't fill it in the group. Single account, so we have that merged view I just talked about. And again, I mentioned this, so what can we do around tracking on requests? I think that there's such a quick win there. Peter talked about quick wins yesterday. What can you do there? We're looking at that, and we're also looking at TPASA APIs. So if you don't necessarily use our user portal, but you still want the transactions in your discovery solution, we'd like to provide those for you. And finally, the universal access to inventory. So I mentioned this on Tuesday as well. We are working on a shared print project for serials. Mary talked about all kinds of interesting things that we're thinking about and how we take that forward with optimizing essentially the collective collections. So those are our 4 pillars for our strategy. And I wanted to revisit one more slide that I shared on Tuesday. What's our approach? How will we build these enhancements? How will we go forward? I'm going to start with interoperability. So we recognize that there are a lot of players out there in the library ecosystem. We would like to use standards to interoperate with them, and we'd like to have our products talk to each other within OCLC and outside of OCLC. We will implement an API-first methodology so that you can use our APIs in your own systems. Back to great user experiences, I think that you can, I think this is obvious. We're going to build great user experiences, and we're going to do it together. We're going to collaborate on this. And collaborative means we will engage you, and we'll discuss with you how do we build these things together. And finally, this middle pillar is very important. If we're going to deliver this type of experience, we need to automate as much as possible. We need to remove friction as much as possible. And we need to be more transparent to the user. Where's my stuff? So in a nutshell, that is the library on demand. So thank you for your time. Much appreciated.